There are many, many views that I hear from trustees and that I don't agree with. I would never dream of putting in a complaint because I believe in the freedom of speech, in the freedom of expression. My charter rights have been stripped at this board. How am I to do my job as a trustee? I represent parents. I was voted in with the most votes in Oshawa. Parents are upset by this. Well, I had been a supply teacher with the Catholic Board in Durham, and when I finished that, I decided that I should get more involved in the education system. I believe in the public education system, and so I decided to run. And in 2018, I won 2014 it was, I won the election, and so that was my first term from 2014 to 2018. So in 2021, trustees were presented with a human rights policy. So having read the policy, I agreed with most of it, but I did have my concerns. And one of them was around the term of white supremacy. And I was thinking about using that term and how it may negatively affect students and parents and teachers, some of the staff. And I thought that it was a derogatory term and that it really separates whites from everybody else. And so I simply asked that perhaps we could remove that definition from the policy or at least reword it. Another area of concern was around children who confide in their teachers that they wish to transition. So go from a boy to a girl or a girl to a boy. At school, some of these students will ask that their parents not be informed of this decision. So that really alarmed me. At the very least, I wanted a letter to go out from the board to the parents. The third concern I had around the policy was after I had read about Carolyn Brajowski and what happened to her at the Waterloo Region District School Board, and that she brought forward to trustees her concerns over books that she felt were not age appropriate. And she was cut off from her presentation and told that she may be speaking against the human rights policy or maybe breaching their human rights policy. So this was an alert to me because we were now working on our human rights policy. So I wrote some things down about what had occurred to her. I brought them to the governance policy where we were discussing our human rights policy, and I read out what I had written because my view was that I didn't want to create a policy that was so constrictive and so broad at the same time that it did not allow people to speak their views, to bring their concerns to the board without breaking our human rights policy. So I was not received that well with those views. I was quite alarmed when I received these complaints. I had no idea because as a trustee, this is part of your job, is to bring forward concerns, ideas, issues, not only from myself, but from parents. A final report was created as to whether or not I had broken the code of conduct with the board, and trustees, having read the full report, came to the conclusion that I had broken the trustee code of conduct in numerous places. And according to the Education Act, they can censure me, they can stop me from attending one board meeting, and they can bar me from committee meetings. They did all of that, and they barred me from every committee from me sitting on any committees, not just for a couple of months, but until the end of the year, so December 31st. So potentially, I could miss over 50 meetings. So essentially what has happened is my voice, my views were contrary to what people wanted me to say and wanted to hear me say. So in my view, I was punished for that. And so there was a public meeting and where trustees could discuss the report. And there are 11 trustees at the board. I was not at that meeting. I chose not to go to that meeting. But I could not vote anyway. So the vote was unanimous. 10 trustees, including 3 student trustees, who all said, yes, she has broken the code of conduct with her words, with her opinions. There are many, many views that I hear from trustees and that I don't agree with. I would never dream of putting in a complaint because I believe in the freedom of speech, in the freedom of expression. My charter rights have been stripped at this board. How am I to do my job as a trustee? I represent parents. I was voted in with the most votes in Oshawa. Parents are upset by this. They want to see me at the board, and I want to be there to speak for them. And that was what happened for speaking out. And so when you see that happen to me, when people see that happen to me, how do you think that makes other people feel? It's going to make them feel fearful. It's going to make them feel that there's repercussions to what you say. This is what I hear all the time. Oh, there's freedom of expression. You have freedom of speech, but there's consequences to that. Well, there's only consequences to it when you don't like what I have to say. And then you want to bring consequences. But that's not how the charter works. So within one of those emails was an email from a lawyer, Jorge, and he is, I called him. He said, get in touch with me. I called him. And the Justice Center funds Jorge as a lawyer. And he said, I think you have a case here. We would like to represent you. If we can talk about it, that would be great. And I relayed to him what happened. He relayed to me what he saw happen. And the Justice Center, I cannot relay enough gratitude that we have something like this in Canada to help people whose charter rights have been suppressed. And for lawyers to work diligently with integrity, pro bono, on strictly from donations from the public. Please, if you can donate to the Justice Center, honestly, I don't know what I would have done. The stress of this has been enormous. That was one of the reasons why I resigned before, was the level of stress this brings onto people. And not only me, but onto my family. So knowing that the Justice Center supplies a lawyer for you to work with, and it allayed so much of my stress and helped me to understand that, yes, my charter rights have been suppressed at the board, and that I do have a right to speak my views as a Canadian citizen. So if it wasn't for the Justice Center, I don't know what I'd be doing right now.